Hello spirits people, welcome to the session 1, which is the spirit production overview. In this video you will learn what are spirits, what are the 4 key stages of any spirit production, what are the raw materials that are allowed in spirit production, what is fermentation, what is distillation. Understanding distillation concept is very important in spirit production, and the post-distillation options that are available after the spirit finishes the distillation. And on the end we will have a quiz to test how much you remembered and understood. So let's go. So what are spirits? Spirits are alcoholic beverages which alcohol is increased, concentrated by the process of distillation. So any spirit goes through 4 stages of production, which are processing the raw material from which they're produced, which they're made, fermentation, distillation, and post-distillation operation. In regards to the raw material, you need to understand that any raw material can be used in spirit production as long it is of plant origin. Any raw material will bring a unique set of flavors to the spirit. Like for example, in tequila production, it is agave, which gives peppery, herbaceous character. In bourbon production, it is corn, which gives popcorny, butterscotch flavors to bourbon. In rum production, it is sugarcane, which gives fruity characteristics to rum. What you need to understand with the raw material is important for sugars. These sugars were later on going to be converted to base alcohol through the process of fermentation, but most of the sugars that are used in spirit production, the sugars are quite complex, so they're not right away accessible for fermentation. So they need to be processed, usually by cooking, in order for these sugars to be accessible. In production of cognac, for example, or where grapes are used as a raw material, these sugars are available to the yeast to ferment them right away. But in the process of, for example, agave, these sugars are, not just agave, but many other spirits, these sugars are quite complex and they need to be processed in order to be simplified and accessible for fermentation. Fermentation is a process of converting sugar into alcohol with yeast. I'll show you a slide later on. Distillation, very important concept to understand for spirits. Distillation is a process where you concentrate your base alcohol, which you got from the fermentation stage, you concentrate it to a higher level. There's spirits that have lower alcohol levels, like for example cognac or tequila, and there are spirits that have very high alcohol levels, like for example vodka. I'll explain how they're made. And then post-fermentation, post-distillation operations can adjust the flavor, the color, the sweetness level, and the final alcohol strength. Fermentation, how fermentation works. Well, fermentation is a process of converting sugars into alcohol through yeast. Yeast are microscopic organisms that eat sugar, transfer the sugar into alcohol, and also carbon dioxide is a byproduct, which is not really important in spirit production, and also flavors get produced from the raw material through the process of fermentation. How distillation works. So distillation it can be quite complex, but the base from what you need to start from is to understand that alcohol distills or boils at lower temperature than water. This is the base of distillation. Distillers take advantage of this and they because of this, they can concentrate the level of base alcohol, because they will control the temperature of the boil in order to separate water, for most of the waters to stay behind and for the alcohol to evaporate and then gets condensed, cooled, and gets transferred to a liquid form again with higher amount of alcohol, because water is removed. Okay, so there's couple of ways to distill alcohol. I'll explain it to you in the next slide. What you need to understand with any distillation, there's few parts of the distillation. First of all, you're always going to have your low alcohol liquid, which you got from your fermentation. That liquid will need to be heated, so there's always some kind of heat source. It can be steam or it can be actual fire heat. This heat will be regulated in order to boil the alcohol. The alcohol and water will boil. The vapor will be transferred from the first stage through pipes, and it will get condensed on the other side. Condensation means that the vapor is going to get cooled and transferred back to the liquid form, and this liquid will be more higher in alcohol than when it started, because water is separated, not completely, but if you do this several times, you can make a highly concentrated spirit. I hope this will probably, you're going to need some time for this to settle down. When I was learning, I was going through this several times, but the point is this: the alcohol boils at lower temperature than water. When you boil alcohol, it becomes vapor. The vapor is a combination of alcohol but also water. Then you're going to condense the vapor, you're going to transfer it back to the liquid form, and that liquid will have a higher percentage of alcohol than when it started. You do this several times, you get a highly concentrated spirit. Okay. Two main types of stills that are used for spirit production are pot stills and column stills. Pot stills work through the process of batch distillation. So that means that you need to process the base alcohol in batches, which is very labor and time consuming. So but the point with pot distillation is, so the pot distillation, the stills, they look like this on the left. Okay. And they produce usually lower alcohol spirits, but lower alcohol leads to more flavor concentration. And with pot still distillation, you can never actually produce a high alcohol spirit like vodka, for example, which is 95-96% alcohol, which means that 96% of the liquid is actual alcohol. In order to do that, in order to produce a spirit like vodka, you need to use column stills. Column stills work through the process of continuous distillation. It's not a batch process, it's a continuous distillation. I'll explain that when we come to vodka. But continuous still, they look like this, like long pipes that have mini distillation on as the pipe goes up. Okay, with the column stills, you can produce higher alcohol strength spirits like vodka, 95-96% pure alcohol, And with that, the higher the distillation alcohol, the lower flavor intensity of the spirit is. So lower distillation, lower alcohol, but more flavor. Higher alcohol, yes, higher alcohol, but less flavor in the final spirit. That's why vodka is considered a neutral spirit. Okay. All right. When the spirits finish the distillation, they're always colorless and dry. And post distillation, there's options to change the aroma, the sweetness, the color, and the final alcohol strength. And these are different for different spirits, and we will discuss this in their specific chapters. All right, so you're ready for the quiz? All right, so the first question, what is the aim of processing the raw material? The first stage of spirit production. To create alcohol, to create a sugar liquid, to concentrate the alcohol, to adjust the color. So the first step in the spirit production is to create a sugary liquid. Okay. I'll explain that also how it's done. It's done differently for different spirits. What is the aim of fermentation? To create a sugary liquid, to create alcohol, to concentrate the alcohol level, to add sweetness. So the correct answer is B, to create alcohol. Your base alcohol, which will later on be concentrated through the process of distillation. Besides alcohol, what two things does fermentation also produce? Water and sugar, carbon dioxide and flavor, oxygen and color, yeast and starch. The correct answer is B. Carbon dioxide and flavor are also byproducts of fermentation. What is the aim of distillation? To create alcohol, to create flavor, to concentrate the level of alcohol, to add sugar. So the correct answer is C, to concentrate the level of alcohol. Of course, also distillation also creates flavor, but the main aim is to concentrate alcohol. Which type of steel uses batch distillation? Column steel, pot steel, continuous steel, hybrid steel. The correct answer is B. Pot steels, the principle is batch distillation. So it means the base spirit, it needs to go through one distillation, then you take that liquid and then you do the same process again. With the continuous, it's basically you enter the liquid into the continuous in the column steel, and the final spirit is taken out and it's done. Which type of steel uses the continuous distillations? Pot steel, batch steel, column steel, copper steel. The correct answer is C, column steel. As a general rule, the lower the distillation strength, the more the resulting spirit will be neutral in aroma, intensely flavored, sweet, or colorless. So lower distillation leads to intensely flavored spirits, like for example cognac. There, cognac is distilled to a lower alcohol level, but it has more flavor, versus vodka, which is 96% pure alcohol, high alcohol, but less flavor, or neutral. Which of the following is adjusted during the post-distillation operation? The raw material used, the type of steel used, color, aroma, sweetness, and strength, the fermentation method. The correct answer is C. Color, aroma, sweetness, and strength can be adjusted post-distillation. Which of the following is a technique used to adjust spirits aroma after distillation? So this is not a fair question at this point because we didn't talk about it, but let's answer it together. So redistillation, blending, malting, cooking. The correct answer is redistillation. We'll talk about that when we talk about flavored spirits. And final question, what is most commonly used to adjust the color of a spirit after distillation? Also not a fair question because I didn't tell you this at this stage. But let's see if you know. Added sugar, caramel color, extra water, and redistillation. So the correct answer is B, caramel coloring. Spirit people, thanks so much for watching. Please let me know if this video was helpful and how well you did on the quiz. And of course, stay thirsty and wise.